Great to be here in Singapore, focusing on the outlook for 2023 and looking at some of the trends between Europe and also Asia. Really interesting to see here the way they've integrated greenery, biodiversity into the built environment, and just the sheer, I suppose, ebullience of the city here in Singapore. One of the topics we covered was obviously capital flows, those capital flows between Asia and Europe. Coming off the back of the PwC Global Trends report, had both Thomas Veit and Christiana Conrads looking at some of those key trends. We also had Alex Jeffrey, who mentioned the sort of polycrisis, so the number of crises that are hitting all at the same time. But very much a different take on it here in Asia. Maybe not as directly as influenced by the war in Ukraine and the energy crisis, but seeing a much more positive kind of outlook here in Asia. And a lot of Asian capital beginning to look very much at Asia, Singapore, where they're seeing good enough opportunities. And so a slight pause in many ways in terms of Asian capital looking at Europe, but European capital definitely seen here in Asia, and including a mention around the sort of capital beginning to look at Japan and areas like residential in Japan. So quite a different picture and a much more optimistic view here, but also definitely a view in terms of Asian capital that the capital is there on the sidelines and is really waiting for, I guess, the markets in Europe to stabilize a little bit more before coming back in. But definitely capital here looking at Europe and waiting to return.